everybody, and welcome to another Film Freaks. Actually, the last Film Freaks for over a year, I think. I think it won't be back till 2022. And in that case, if it does come back, it'll be back on Sick Flick TV instead of on the YouTube. So just get ready for that. We are doing a big switch over here at Indie Film Cafe, but it's all for the love of movies and the stuff that we love doing. With that, I have my guest tonight, who I believe is a Karate Kid fan himself. Please welcome Joe Turek. How are you doing, Joe?
Doing great. I guess it's a good thing that I am on this one because yes, being that we're doing Karate Kid, if I didn't like it, that'd be a very interesting chat we'd be having.
Yeah, like I didn't invite Paul because Paul's just not a big fan of the movie, and he's not into things that he calls schmaltzy or something, and that's what he would call this movie. Like he wouldn't be into Rocky or all those Hollywood, drivel, and
Well, I think this is a good one to do because it's a little different than some of the other ones that's been done on Film Freaks, and I think this fits. It's a nice fitting conclusion to the season and stuff. So I'm
exactly,
looking forward to talking this one through.
exactly, because I think it's a more popular movie, and I mean, Film Freaks TV to me was not about unpopularity or whatever, it wasn't about cult movies. It was about movies that we enjoy, that we love.
Hmm.
And when I was a kid, when I was like 7 years old, I think it was about 6 or 7, I discovered Karate Kid and I fell in love with the sport of karate. So much so because my parents tried to get me to do soccer when I was a kid,
Hmm.
and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. Me and my friend just hung out and talked while people were passing the ball to each other. I mean, that's what my parents said. At least I don't remember any of that. I do remember not liking it. That's all I remember. So anyway, years later, or whatever, a couple years later, because when I was it's like 5 when they tried to get me into soccer, and they wanted me to do a sport,
Hmm.
and I said the only sport I want to do is karate, because of the Karate Kid and
Hmm.
everything. And my parents were like, "It's a good idea," so they brought me to the rec center, and at the rec center they had a karate class, Shorin-ryu, Shorin-kan karate. Now it's Shorin-ryu or Shorin-kan. I found out later they split and everything. I don't know the politics of what happened exactly, but I know they split. And I tried to go back to karate years later, and mm, I was
Yeah.
completely out of shape, and I was pretty much laughed at in a way. Like I tried to go back to one sensei who was my teacher, and he had actually split with the other sensei, my other sensei that's now there. And then I tried to go back to my regular sensei. So I tried to go twice, and both times I couldn't get past, like, I think when I got up to like purple belt, because I had to start over again, because my
Hmm.
original belt I got up to was black belt. I actually got up to junior black belt. So coming back and having to start again, that's a very humble experience. My ego was almost like, no, I'm not going to do that. But my sensei explained that basically things have changed. And so there's
Hmm.
a lot of what I knew back in the day, I was completely gone. So anyway, that's my
That
history on karate there. And I
Well,
had
that's
like,
interesting how that's interesting how you got involved in it, though. I mean, by actually the movie got you into like wanting to do that, so that's
right.
interesting.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to write a martial arts film, because I got into Karate Kid. I love Karate Kid. I love the sequels, all of them. Except I'm not a huge fan of number two as much as a lot of people are. I like, in my opinion, it goes in my like ranking. It goes one. Was it 3, 4, 2?
Wow.
Which, I mean, because I don't know. I don't like I never liked the Tokyo or Okinawa stuff. I couldn't care about, like, I was like, should be about Daniel, not Mr. Miyagi. This became the Mr. Miyagi movie. Then they got back to
Mhm.
Daniel in the third one. I'm like, all right, because Daniel's there. Daniel's dealing with his own like issues and his own girl troubles.
Mhm.
But it's a Miyagi movie. I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
it's Mr. Miyagi goes west, and
Wow, that's interesting. I mean,
or whatever goes
I'm a
east.
little bit, yeah, I'm a little bit different. I mean, I really enjoy, I can appreciate what you're saying about too, though, being more of a Miyagi movie. Uh, I, on the other hand, I put number two second to me. It's still, and I'm on that, in that group that really liked it. Actually, I own the second one. Mine would probably go one, two, three, four, just sort of in the order that they were made. Um,
Um,
but yeah, and one of the things I really liked about part two was the way that it picked up right after one ended. Um,
mhm.
but yeah, that so I would probably put them in that order. But that's a good point you make about Miyagi. It would be more of a Miyagi movie than a Karate Kid about Daniel film.
And I mean, I'm nothing against Mr. Miyagi, but you
Hmm.
can't call it the Karate Kid and have it be, like they could have made a whole new like series of movies that just focused on Mr. Miyagi, and I would have been totally cool with that as a person watching the films. But
Hmm.
I always get bored of that movie. I don't know, like it's just maybe it's the culture stuff, which still to this day doesn't interest me as much as as the karate aspects of it and learning.
Hmm.
I love three because they brought back the you know
Crease,
um
yeah.
priest. They brought Terry Silver into the whole mix. But number one, Karate Kid 1 is always and will always be
Hmm.
my favorite movie. um
Oh
i
yeah,
I used to have it on Betamax. I used to have it on VHS. I have it on Blu-ray and 4K, but my 4K is missing for some reason. And though I don't have a 4K player right now, so it doesn't bother me, I'm still like, where the fuck is it? That's
maybe Paul has it.
no. He doesn't even have a 4K player, buddy.
Oh, oh yeah. I guess that
Oh,
wouldn't. Well, the one thing I will say before we go back into part one about part two, the way, and I know they had to dismiss obviously Elizabeth Shue's character because she went to college in real life and stuff like that, and she was unable, she wasn't willing to do, I guess, the movie. But the way they sort of dismissed her character, it was just so casual. It was just like I was like, man, they were like supposedly like close together, and it was like she left him for a football player or something. I was like, oof. But anyway, that was just sort of a last shot of that part two there
well,
with that.
it's sort of funny. All those movies, it's always like, person goes to school, or, oh, like he starts dating that girl, but then like that's not going to work in the long distance relationships. So I'm
Hmm.
like, he's like the Zach Morris of like of whatever, of like
Yeah,
films or whatever, because he just has a different girlfriend every movie, you
yeah.
know.
It'd be interesting if they bring like Elizabeth Shue or Tom Tamita if they haven't already. I think they're talking about bringing her into some maybe Cobra Kai or something, which I haven't. I know we talked a little bit about that beforehand, but I haven't seen. I've seen some of the first season, but I haven't seen it all yet. But I know that they've talked about bringing her into it, at least in
I'm
a
not going to
small
spoil
spot,
anything.
which would be kind of interesting.
I'm
Okay.
not spoiling anything. Like, I'm not going to
Maybe there's
say
more than that.
anything.
Okay. Okay. There you
I
go.
can't
Okay. So
say anything, period, because I just don't want. Um, but
I got you. But
but
yeah,
I
I'll be
can't wait
watching
for
that
the
soon.
I can't wait for the
Season three.
third season coming out, and I think in January. So that's what they're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that'll
Well,
be fun.
another thing you touched on was how you got into it and stuff like that, and how karate was sort of how you got into karate. For me, it was a little different. I was before I saw the movie. I don't know if you remember, like in school, we had to go to the auditorium and stuff like that, and they would have like I don't say commencement, but just meetings and stuff like that with all the
Assembly.
students and stuff like that. There you go. I was like a complete drawing of the blank on the word. But yeah, they had the assembly and stuff like that. But anyways, they showed clips of it in the middle of like one of the um give functions or something like that with academics and stuff like that. And they showed clips of it, and it was like the big hit at the time. So I mean, this was live for me. So I mean, I was like what, like 11 or 12 at the time. So seeing those clips, I was like, wow, what is this? This looks so cool. So like that. So then I saw it in the theaters, and it was just like, whoa.
Mhm.
And I mean, to me, it's like, I mean, it's so from the '80s, but but the idea of it fits, and we can go into that. So more, I have the only karate if I had a belt, it'd be like how Miyagi said in this movie. He says J.C. Penney's $3.98. That'd be my belt because I have
Right.
no karate knowledge whatsoever, other than that and watching martial arts films.
Interesting thing is that that was actually based on Robert Mark Kamen, who wrote the movie.
Hmm.
He had a bit where in real life he actually was a part of a dojo. All of this was actually based on a lot of things that he knew or whatever. And and including Miyagi, which was his dojo's name, was Miyagi something
Wow.
dojo.
Hmm.
And so he just named Mr. Miyagi after his dojo. And he said that the because I was watching a documentary on it, today, and he said that the teacher that he had did not actually believe in belts. So just like Mr. Miyagi, if you asked him about a belt, he would go into a drawer and just pull out a black belt and say, "Here you go, that's your
Yeah.
belt." And I thought that was really funny. I really adore like Mr. Miyagi, who originally, do you know who they originally wanted, like the studio wanted?
I saw some of the casting for some of the roles, but I don't think I saw anything from Miyagi's.
Toshiro Mifune from like the Seven Samurai movies
Wow, really?
and things like that. He would have been a one who's way more serious.
Mm.
Like that's how he wanted to portray Miyagi. It's way more serious and hardcore and mean and gruff and but with honor and dignity and all that. And then they were just like, he's just not right. So they were testing people and they thought, why not? They really liked Pat Morita's thing, but the studio was worried because it was Arnold from Happy Days.
Yeah.
Like they thought that it would. People would think it's a comedy, like complete comedy movie. Especially with the title Karate Kid being very, uh, you know, being very like silly and cheesy sounding.
Hmm.
As Ralph Macchio puts it, it's a Saturday morning title, like, and later on it became a Saturday morning cartoon,
Yeah, they had the
you know.
cartoon for it and all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with Pat Morita, I was casting him, and obviously Arnold from Happy Days. I remember seeing him in a few episodes of MASH, and he also was in one of my favorite sitcoms of the '70s. And he was only maybe 5 to 10 episodes of it, but Sanford and Son. He played
Yeah.
um, he played a character, obviously very racially based and stuff like that, with that way that the humor was in the '70s with a lot of the films, but or TV shows with All in the Family and Jeffersons and Sanford and Son. But he played a character. His name was Ah Chu, and Red Fox just had a field day with that as Sanford. So I mean, it was just, but that's sort of where I knew Marita from. So I had a little bit of when I saw Karate Kid as a kid. I'd seen because my dad watched MASH all the time, so I'd probably seen him in there, and maybe Happy Days. We watched that as a family growing up. So,
Mm.
so I had a little bit of knowledge of him and stuff like that. And for Ralph Macchio, I had seen. I don't think I saw The Outsiders. That was afterwards. So that was.
I don't think I'd seen anything before Karate Kid of Ralph's when I was a kid. I,
Mm.
you know, I didn't really watch Outsiders till much, years later in life because I had no real interest in it. But I do love Ralph, and Ralph looks just as young as he did. I don't know what he does, some kind of technique or something to make himself still, or maybe he's a vampire. I don't know. He does go out there in the daytime, so I
Yeah.
don't know if that's
Well, what was
true.
he like? I think they said he was like 22 when he made the movie. And so, I
Right.
mean, he was
And
playing
he
a 15, 16-year-old.
and he still looked 15 or 16 then,
Yeah.
so but then later on him and like My Cousin Vinny and a ton of other films, and whatnot.
Mm.
And Pat Morita, after Karate Kid, I was in love with his like character of it, that I watched movies like Honeymoon in Vegas where he was in. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember, I think I saw that movie Collision Course with him and Jay
Oh,
Leno.
Leno. Yeah.
That was just so ridiculous and over the top.
He
And
He did a horror movie too, where he was just like where he was like some side character, and I mean, it wasn't a major release or anything like
I'm not
that, but
surprised.
yeah, and he did like an action movie. I think it was maybe with the Sedaris, Sedaris, Andy. I think it was Andy
Andy
Sedaris, maybe
Sedaris,
action movie. I think he might have done an action movie or something like that too that I had seen. Very small
probably.
role. And you know how the straight to video stuff started really taking off in the '90s and stuff. So
Yeah, and a lot of actors kind of jumped on that boat, especially like people who are known for like one specific role. They get kind of
mm,
typecast into these things, and I just love Mr. Miyagi. William Zabka, who played the bad guy. I mean,
mm,
from what I've understood, he in his audition he actually grabbed the director.
mm,
Like grabbed him to like in his scene and everything, and he was like, that's you find out later like that's a no in auditioning, but he was like
mm.
so in the moment, that that's what he did, and John G. Alvinson liked it, and decided to cast him. uh
What wasn't that something like that? Gosh, that was in the auditions then, because I think didn't Martin Cove do something like that in an audition too? He like went off on Appleton.
well, sort of, but he was
It
more
was sort of
pissed off that apparently he had to wait a while, and that just really made him mad. And the more mad he got, the more he got to like play. Like I was watching it and I was smiling because if I were in that room right then and there, and I had to
mm,
figure out who to cast, I would have cast him in a second.
mm.
Martin Cove just looks like Crease. He
Yeah,
has that.
he's perfect for
He
that,
was
and
perfect.
William Zabka is perfect for Johnny too. I mean,
And did you meet both of them? At the at Scares That Care or not? Were you
no,
not
no,
there
they
that
weren't.
year? Okay, so I met both of them, and I wanted to do an interview with William, but unfortunately, he's had bad luck with people doing interviews where they're kind of rude to him, you know,
Mhm.
and stuff, because of his character being, such a high profile like bully,
Yeah, he gets a
he
lot. He
kind of
supposedly gets a lot of hate from people just in
yeah.
general.
And so now, thank God, Cobra Kai is sort of kind of redeeming him with that. Like people are sort of understanding his character a little bit more, which I think is great. But so I tried to ask him, but he said he couldn't do it because he just can't. Like, I mean, it was nothing against me. It's just something
Yeah.
he's decided not to do. And I said that's cool. So I got a picture with him later. And I got to talk to Martin Cove, and Martin is just the sweetest man you'll ever meet. I'm Facebook friends, and I've chatted with his son, and I mentioned that to Martin, and Martin was like, "Oh my God, you know my son? I'll tell him that I met you today and blah, blah, blah." I was like, that's nice. And the next day he was like, yeah, I mentioned your name to Jesse and blah, blah, right. And he was just super duper cool and very down to earth. And I bet, finally, like, cause he's been a huge like success throughout many, many years. He's in
Hmm.
Rambo 2. He
Oh
was
yeah.
in a ton of different films,
Yeah,
that kind of,
he's in stuff even like last year or two. I mean, he's really active with stuff. So
yeah.
when you met Cove and Zapka, did you meet them? Was this before or after Cobra Kai
This is actually
started?
before Cobra Kai.
Okay. Yeah,
So
because
even started before they were even, because they were doing a lot of runs through conventions and stuff, and sometimes they'd have Ralph Macchio there for different conventions and things. And I think that's what sparked the interest to do Cobra Kai is that, and maybe also a little bit of How I Met Your Mother helped because they brought William Zabka back. I don't know if you've ever seen that show or not, but there's a bit where uh was it Barney, which is played by Neil Patrick Harris, says that his favorite character in Karate Kid, like the real Karate Kid, is Johnny Lawrence, and then he explains exactly why Johnny Lawrence was treated badly and why he was the one who got bullied by Ralph Macchio, and so that become a big discussion. Is like, really was Ralph in the right at times and when and then really, like, I'm gonna be the person that says I'm sorry, but Ralph got picked on by, he might have been talking to what's her to Allie
Allie.
with an I
Yeah.
at the beach or whatever. He was not
Mhm.
stealing anyone's girl. At that point, she was single. She broke up with Johnny, so she was no longer Johnny's girl. Johnny comes in there and kicks the dude's ass. Then he goes off and then he sees him again at the school. He has his friends trip him up, right? Then
Yeah,
they
the
see
soccer.
him at the karate dojo. That night they make him fall into the, I mean, those are bullying
Mhm.
things. Ralph was not at or Daniel was not at any point trying to cause any kind of issues. He wasn't picking on them. He wasn't, you know what I mean? And
Well,
so,
but I was reading something on this too, and that and it made me think about it, because I mean I agree with what you're saying. There was the couple things that got pointed to, was one of them was like what he did at the Halloween party, how he
right.
antagonized him. But I was like, by that point he'd been pushed over the edge so many different times, and
He was trying to
and
he
I
was trying to get some revenge on these guys who were treating him like crap,
mhm.
you know?
And I also heard that there was like a cut scene that something happened in a cafeteria where Johnny supposedly does something with a blueberry piece of pie or something like that, where he sits on it or something. But they cut that scene. But there's a little bit more of it antagonizing and stuff like that Johnny did supposedly. So,
So Daniel did
but
to Johnny.
I think that well, I think that scene in the cafeteria was more Johnny to Daniel, but I could see where Johnny or that Daniel said a few things here and there, and when he knew that he couldn't get picked on, he egged him on, he egged Johnny and the guys
Well,
on a little bit. But I mean, I guess that's sort of at that point he'd been pushed around a bit. So I mean, I know I'd be pissed off too if that happened to me.
I mean, if you're pretty much, and this is my opinion on the whole thing, if you're pretty much fearing for your life every day that you go to school that these people are
Yeah.
going to do something to you, because I've been bullied when I was in middle school. Now, high school was not that bad. I had a little couple of like bully incidents, but nothing like whatever.
Hmm.
Because I think honestly, at least when I was going to school, in high school, people just don't give a crap after a while in real life, like they don't
Yeah,
really,
there's.
I, whatever, they just have, but in middle school, I got bullied so bad. I had one incident where I was in the, uh, this guy, I'm not going to say his name or anything, but this guy pushed me up against a wall, had all his friends blocking me off so I could not leave. And then he wanted me to like hit him like on purpose so that he could hit me. And me
Hmm.
knowing karate at that time, I was like, no, because like if it got back at any time that I could, that I knew karate, I could get
Hmm.
suspended. Because it was like using deadly weapons.
Yeah.
If you know how to defend yourself. Now, I was worried, and then two guys came in and like said, back off this dude, he's our
Hmm.
friend and everything. But still, like, and there were people who bully me, whatever. I've had tons of bullying situations. However, so like every day I would fear for my life that like going to school I was going to get picked on, or you know little things on the bus maybe I was going to get picked on or whatever. And really living in fear like that is no way to like be able to live your middle school life. So that's when
Yeah.
I went to high school and it was like so much better, that made me like a
Yeah.
million times happier.
Yeah.
um but go ahead.
I remember once I had to get off the bus and run because it was a couple people was going to start a fight with me, and I remember that. I remember that sort of feeling, and seeing that, hearing from you, and also um, Daniel talks about it in the movie too. When Allie's like, "You got to deal with it. You got to deal with it face to face." Like, and he's like, "You deal with it your way. I'll deal with it my way," because there's sometimes when you're perceived to be at a weakness where you have four or five guys who are going to jump you, it's a very self-defensive mechanism he has to play. Plus, he's a stranger to this area. He just came cross country and stuff like that. I know that feeling because military kid moving cross country and
Hmm.
not having any friends. And he got the one friend who jabbed at him, that called him the Karate Kid, the Freddy guy.
Hmm.
when he got and stuff like that. So it's like I could see
Oh,
how.
he had the Freddy guy for 2 seconds as a friend
Yeah, yeah, and
until
he
he
turned
got
on him.
beat up. He got beat up. Then his friends were like, "Wow, where do you pick this loser?" And they walk away.
Yeah,
It's just like that to me is high school. Like seriously,
yeah,
like I mean, nobody wants to hang out with the uncool kid, or
yeah,
whatever. I mean,
yeah. But he but when Freddie said that to him about like, oh, he's a karate kid and stuff like that, and it was just like I was like, man, this poor guy. But the thing was, is Allie really took to him, and I mean, there was a genuine connection there, and I
mm-hmm.
think that was something that's not necessarily normal. 'Cause usually, when you think of the guy that's getting bullied or whatever, that he's going to get the rich princess type girl from the other side of the tracks and stuff like that. That's really going to take a liking to him. But in this case, it worked, and they had great chemistry together, Machio and Elizabeth Shue. I saw the audition with the two of them together and stuff like that, and it was just like, and everything they did together was, I mean, their scenes was really good together.
Yep,
And that's why it was like, that's why when they were just so dismissive of her character at the beginning of two, I was just like face plant. I was like, oh, but uh,
exactly.
but the way that they nailed the high school scenes, just walking around school and stuff like that, it really fit the '80s, and it really fit that he was being picked on by the clique, by the bullies, the five, that was it, 4 or 5 of the Cobra Kai guys, and he went to try to get defense mechanisms. He's like, I'm gonna go check out this karate place, and and you see his expression when he realizes they're all there. He's just like, oh, like he's just so defeated again,
Yeah,
and
like he can't catch a break. And then,
yeah.
of course, like he tries to go home that night, which made me wonder what was he doing for that like that long that it took until nighttime that he had to go home or whatever. Because I guess he was waiting for his mom at one point, and then he drove back, or he rode his bike back home, right? And those kids are like,
Mhm.
"Hey, Daniel wants to learn karate. Here's your first lesson: how to take a fall." And then they like push
Yeah.
him down and everything. Which once again, that goes back to what I was saying before. Bullying. I'm sorry, but you cannot call Johnny the good guy in this situation. Now, the way Cobra Kai makes it seem, they show a little bit more backstory to him, like, how he grows up, what makes
Mhm.
him the way he is, how he's sort of stuck in his old ways, because that's what he's known for his whole life. Um, I like that, but
Mhm.
I will never say that Daniel was the bully and Johnny was, the one who got picked on, because
Yeah.
if you see it from the actual side of real of who and what, I mean, the good versus evil aspects. I mean,
Mhm.
sure, maybe it's sad that Johnny lost the stuff lost Allie to Daniel, but really he kept trying to stop Daniel from dating Allie, even to the point where kissing her in front of him,
Oh
just
yeah.
to make it look like she and him were kissing to make Daniel mad. I
Yeah.
mean that's
Well, there
bull.
was. Yeah. Well, but there was an arc with Johnny's character, which I really, it's kind of a subtle thing that it's really quick at the end and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
when he's confronted by Kreese, and he's like sweep the leg and stuff like that, and some of the comments that he says to him, and you can just tell the fear and just the disbelief that Johnny has, and the way it even goes when he gets beat. Um, he turns around, he says, and he hands Dan LaRusso the trophy real quick. He says, "You're all right, LaRusso," and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's like Johnny came around in my mind at that point. It was like, I mean, granted, the stuff he did was wrong, but it's like
Did.
he tried, and that's why it was a little different seeing how his and then it's being part two, he just gets manhandled by Kreese. But I could see from the beginning of Cobra Kai, it's just they took his character and how that situation completely impacted his life for years and stuff like that. And that's why I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of Cobra Kai, because it seems like and from everything I'm hearing, it's just extremely well done. And it fits
Oh,
right
it
in with.
is. And I mean, I'm adoring it. It feels like a show made by fans who really really loved Karate Kid and what it stood for. I'm really hoping they bring like Hilary Swank into it at some point or something. That'd be cool. The next Karate Kid, like they explain,
Yeah.
the connections between the two or whatever. But we'll see. I mean,
Yeah, and I
but
know they brought a couple of the other characters have been a couple of the other Cobra Kai guys have come in and stuff like that that we've talked about. Um, each of them had their own unique little things in the original Karate Kid, which I kind of liked. I mean, it was one of them didn't really speak much, but then there was a couple of them that was just plain psycho. It seemed.
yeah. My favorite one being Dutch, played by Chad McQueen, who's actually
Mhm.
Steve McQueen's son, I want to say,
I think
or
so, and
grandson. I'm not sure which one.
well,
But
McQueen was only like 50 when he died in 80, so I mean, that's
probably
possible. I mean,
son.
because
I think it
yeah,
was son then. Oh yeah, son, because then there's Stephen R. McQueen, which is Chad's son, which is Steve McQueen's grandson, and he was in like Vampire Diaries and a couple other things.
yeah,
But he's Stephen R. McQueen,
yeah. 'Cause I love some Steve McQueen movies, so there was some good stuff there.
Oh,
But
well, and that's the sad thing is like I feel like um Chad McQueen was trying so hard to be like his dad, but in a way he didn't look anything like his dad. He didn't, he got cast as the bully and Karate Kid kind of probably didn't help his reputation of like trying to be like whatever. But I still really, really enjoy Dutch. Dutch is one of my favorite characters because he's such an a-hole throughout the whole thing. Like you're just like, man, what a douche. He's at the tournament, he's laughing, at the whole thing. Or even comes in, there's that one scene where he's like, hey, does your mommy need to teach you how to tie your gi, or whatever. And you know like he's just such a jerk, even worse than Johnny in a way.
yeah,
But
yeah. But
he sadly hasn't come back to Cobra Kai yet, and maybe he will. Maybe he will
yeah.
later.
Well, the line comes up. I can't remember which one was it. Tommy that's or which one it says is get him a body bag.
Yeah,
That
get
was a great line.
was it put him in a body bag?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know.
It's just during that final battle or the final the championship of the tournament and stuff like that, which
Yeah.
which
There's some great
I
lines
like.
in that movie.
Oh yeah, because it's like I mean obviously you have the but some of Marita's lines was probably that stood out to me. He said one line. Let me see if I remember exactly correctly. Well, I mean, he obviously has all his wax off, wax on, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he says, "Trust quality, not quantity." And it's like some of these sayings and like these proverbs and stuff like that. It fit his character. And in normal circumstances in movies, it'd be like, okay, that's just cheese and stuff like that. But it seemed to fit right with his character.
Hmm.
And and just the interaction between him and Danielson, if you will.
Yeah, a lot of Marita's lines are very like, or Miyagi's lines are just very stand out. Like even just from the very minute you meet him, and he's like, "Hi, I heard you can fix the faucet." It's like, so when are you gonna do it? When what? It's like, when are you gonna fix the faucet? After what? After. 'Cause did you notice in the beginning of the movie he's doing the trying to catch the flies with the chopstick? That moment that he meets them, then later, and this is by memory, by the way. I've not seen this movie and like whatever. I was just watching the documentary, but like he's doing the chopsticks thing, and then what is it? Then he turns and looks at him, and you get this kind of like, okay, let me back off, right? Kind of vibe from him, and he ends up, you know, he's doing the chopsticks later on. He's like, man catch flies with chopstick, he can accomplish anything. So of course, LaRusso tries it and catches it on like the first or third try or something, and he's like, you'll beginner luck,
Yeah.
right?
Well, what you're saying there with Marita's character and how his reactions and stuff fit that type of background and stuff like that. When he confronted Kreese at the dojo, and then they made the arrangement that no touching him until after a certain point. Miyagi backs up and never takes his eyes off of Kreese, and he backs up all the way out the door, and you can never. And it's just seeing that sort of. He was so entrenched into that character, and I mean, I guess that's why he got nominated for an Oscar and stuff like that. But it's just the character was real to the truths of what a mentor type of sensei would be. It seems.
He also, that's something you learn in karate, by the way. You never take your eyes off your opponent. You
And
actually learn that in actual karate too, because anytime you take your eyes off an opponent, they can attack, or whatever. So him doing that was like showing that him and Kreese were opponents at that particular moment. Even though, if you ever notice, when he does confront Kreese, he has no fear whatsoever in him. Daniel has a lot of fear. You can kind of see it, anxiety. He's like scared of what's going to happen here. Is Kreese going to attack Mr. Miyagi? And then Mr. Miyagi, or was it Kreese, is just kind of standing there like this. He has no fear either. Because he thinks both guys have this like level of confidence in themselves that later you don't see. You sort of see the battle between them in part 2 with, was it, what's his name? Attacking.
well, yeah, Kreese attacks Miyagi, sort of tries to.
Yeah. Mr. Kreese attacks Miyagi and like breaks his hands or whatever, and then he boops his nose.
Oh yeah, which was great because Kreese at that moment at the beginning of 2, and I know that we're talking about part 2 here. He was so defeated from the events of part 1, and
right.
all the stuff there, and then it's like he rips up the trophy and stuff like that in front of Johnny. It's ready to hurt Johnny at that point, but then it's like Miyagi tells him to stop, and he goes over, and Miyagi doesn't actually do any attack on Kreese. He just moves out of the way twice, and he busts both hands up to the windows, and then he holds them, and then he uses some of the Kreese type of way of talking about mercies for the weak and all this stuff, and then he does the nose honk, which was classic to me because he's like
he's just being goofy to him and kind of showing him, and if you watch the third one, there's the bit where you see that again, and then you see John Kreese so like defeated at that particular time, like him, because like I want to know more backstory. I don't even think Cobra Kai has gone into that, but I want to know more backstory on Kreese leaving the dojo at one point, right? Because he left to go, I forgot, like Hawaii or something, then he left a lot of it in the hands of Terry Silver, right? But like he had lost his he lost his dojo, right?
Yeah,
and
it was either lost or it was about to be bankrupt. It was one or the other, but
it was
Silver
like bankrupt.
basically saved him.
Yeah, it's still Silver saved him. Plus, it was going bankrupt because nobody wanted to go learn at that school anymore, because like he had just not only been defeated in public by his dojo, like people, or whatever, but that also like been like those people saw that they did not want to be involved in a karate school where the sensei got defeated, and that's a really big thing to think about. And had Martin Cove's character just said, all right, we lost, but we'll win the All Valley next year, or whatever, right? Kind of took some pride and some whatever, and not wasn't complete dick, maybe it would have been a little better, but
but so it's like how humbled but it's like all these pieces make it so well received as a film that even all these years later with Cobra Kai, obviously, but even the commercials, it's like how Kreese does that commercial with the tax company and stuff like that. He has out right now, and it's like he's like, I've learned to control my anger and stuff like that. It's a play against how he was in the movie. And they also did the thing with Johnny. Johnny had William Zabka had the Buffalo Wild Wings commercial a few years
Yeah.
back as well. So, and he was sitting there. So that's sort of emblematic, along with what we're talking about, all the traits of the film that's great quality in itself, is how the movie really holds up after 35 years. I
Uh-huh.
mean, it does have some of those 80s montage moments of the training, and it had a little bit of the cheesy music, and then it has one of
I
the great
love the
80s
music.
songs. I mean, yeah, it
Uh,
has Bananarama, Cruel Summer. I mean, which is, to me, is like it's one of the better 80s songs. I mean,
um,
it was for that movie. But
Bill
yeah, just
Conti did
everything about that.
amazing. Bill Conti did amazing in the score. He also did the Rocky movies
Mhm.
scores. So all the
Yeah,
Rocky stuff, like You're Gonna Fly Now and stuff like that. That was Bill Conti. And then
yeah.
you've got
I heard that one of the songs that was used in Karate Kid was originally going to be used in one of the Rocky films, but it just didn't make it. So they used it for this. It was like "You're the Best" or something like that. It's the name of
yeah.
the song.
Well, yeah, You're the Best was
Um,
perfect for Rocky, or not Rocky, Karate Kid. It would not have fit for Rocky. I don't think there's anywhere they could have put it in the Rocky series. I don't,
mhm.
especially not like, because about that time was probably about time they did Rocky 3, which was Eye of the Tiger was like
Yeah.
the best song for that. But I liked You're the Best. I liked Eye of the Tiger. I've liked all of these things that those guys did back in the 80s. Like, I mean, some of the music was amazing,
Yeah. Well,
back.
Conti's done so many films. I mean, the Rocky movies. He did. He did the score, I believe, for one of the Bond movies as well. For Your Eyes
Probably.
Only. There was a mini series that came out in the '80s that he did, called North and South. He did the music for that, which is about the Civil War and all, which I really enjoy. It's a great miniseries. It's probably like 15 episodes or something like that. 15 2 hour and a half episodes, something like that. But he
Nice.
did the music for that. But yeah, he's just done some great work. And I mean, and him doing Rocky and Karate Kid. I mean, there's similarities obviously with Rocky and Karate Kid. I mean,
Well, the
they're
only difference
underdog stories.
really is that uh, Daniel won. You know, had
Yeah.
Daniel lost, I think we would have gotten a completely different series.
Hmm.
Where it would have like it would have it felt like the Rocky series, because Rocky lost at the end of Rocky 1. Spoilers. Sorry for anybody who hasn't seen Rocky. But Rocky loses at the end, and then he wins in the second one, right? He goes toe to toe against Apollo Creed again, and this time he wins, and
Hmm.
everything. And
Yeah.
so it was sort of like, but if you notice in the end of Rocky 1, Apollo, even though he won, he's the one who's like, "You're pretty good, Balboa. Like you're a good
Yes, they do
fighter."
that. Yeah.
So it's sort of like the exact opposite. Like in a way,
Hmm.
like instead of the winner saying you're pretty good and everything, it's what's her name? It's you know, uh,
Well,
it's Zapka saying it to
yeah, Johnny
Johnny, saying
and
it to Daniel.
yeah. Well, I
And
guess how we're tying Rocky and this together. I mean, same director, obviously, too. So
right.
I mean, there's a lot of that in it as well, which
And
to me.
montages, and I
Mhm.
mean they're both trainers. In Rocky's case, they have Mickey, who's fantastic character. Burgess Meredith did just such a great job, and then and Pat Morita, so there you go. Both older actors playing playing these great characters who really come to life. And you know uh but you know the difference was like Karate Kid was Rocky for kids,
Yeah.
pretty much, because Rocky was not a kid movie. I mean, if you think about it, he was a leg breaker for the mob or whatever. Like he was
Mhm.
not, he worked at he was a butcher or something. He worked at a that kind
Yeah.
of, he did meat packing plant, or whatever. He was
Mhm.
not the kind of guy that like kids go, "Oh, I want to be like Rocky,"
Yeah.
Um
but I mean everything. I mean even the DP was the same. I mean, that did Rocky, that did this. So it's like I
Oh
mean
yeah,
there's, but the DP with James Crabb. He it was a little bit more delicate touch though with Karate Kid. I mean it wasn't as I don't want to say artistically sound, just it wasn't as forceful in Rocky and some of his other films. I mean, Karate Kid, there's a little bit more breathing. It's a little bit more fun at times,
right.
and I think that that's where some people might get that little schmaltzy type of feel to her and stuff like that. But to me, it's perfect for the '80s. It's perfect for a younger generation. It actually works for older as well. But it's just it it shows that a good that friendships can be had from in any type of sources. I mean, you have an old Japanese or Okinawan guy in a bullied teenager, and it's like how the friendships can and that sort of friendship thing is great for that movies can convey that message because especially and that's something that transcends time is that we need to be able to be friends with people and stuff like that
Right.
and
Exactly.
bullying doesn't pay off obviously and it shouldn't and they all got their
Well, that's what I like
justice there.
about Cobra Kai too, because I mean, I know you said you've only seen like part of the first season
First
and
season,
everything.
yeah.
So, but like, I mean, they do touch on not just bullying, but like online bullying, which is a big deal now. And the funniest thing about that is just Johnny doesn't get it, because he's just like, because that wasn't the time he grew up, and
Yeah.
everything. Like, why are people picking on people online? This is the real world that we live in right now and shit.
Mhm.
And so I think that's really funny. I would love to see how they handle, the Karate Kid in 2020, or whatever. Like I wonder like how all of these shows and these movies are going to handle the coronavirus and stuff because a lot of people are like, I just worked on a set and I mean, you would leave your mask on and then you would take your mask off, right? Right before you're
Mhm.
about to shoot, as if like this movie that's going to come out in 2020 doesn't involve wasn't made for 2020 audiences
Yeah.
because that's what we have to deal with now is we have to deal with people who have masks
Mhm.
on.
Yeah. I guess that's it's a tricky thing, and I've thought the same thing of how that's all going to be handled because it's like if they do go all out and make something that where people wear a mask the entire film and stuff like that, how that would be portrayed if hopefully in the next few months or next 6 months or whatever it's dealt with to where that's not going to be an issue. Will it seem like a very dated film if they did do something like that? But at the same time, that is the world that we're in right now, so it can be reflective of this time to have the mask. So, so yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they're going to do Cobra Kai for season three, which comes out in January, I believe, and then they're
Yeah,
working on a fourth one
you
season,
gotta
supposedly.
start binge watching. They're not it's not that hard, man. Like it
Yeah,
literally will take you about 5 hours total to do the whole series and
yeah.
stuff
I watched a
or the
good
whole
part of
season.
season. Yeah, I watched a good part of season one. It was on YouTube, I think. Originally, it was a YouTube series, and then they pulled it, and I never went premium with it. Now it's on Netflix though, so it's easy to
Yeah.
watch now. So yeah,
um
it's something we both want. My wife and I want to look at because it's and plus we both the love of Karate Kid is. It seems like it carries over and it does justice to the character.
If I were you, maybe I'd wait until right about before they're about to put out the new one, or so, or after they've already put out the new one, because they leave it on such a cliffhanger, on the second
Mhm.
season, that it would probably drive you nuts, just like it's driving everybody else in freaking the world nuts right now. So with that being said, everybody, this is the 4K release of Karate Kid. If you look at the back, there are some special features on here. I don't know if you guys can read it or not. Probably if you pause it or something, you can read it. But I'll read them real quick. There's an all new documentary, The Karate Kid, a reflective look back with stars Ralph Macchio, William Zabka, and Martin Cove. So it's just, I guess, another little remembering, Q&A kind of thing or something. And then there's a pop-up track. There's a ton of stuff. There's commentary with the writer, director, and cast. I think Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita are on there. I don't know if William Zabka is or not, because
I'm interested. I'm interested. Is nothing Elizabeth Shue hadn't do anything on it? I've never heard her really talk about this movie too
I don't
much.
think so. I don't. She wasn't even in the documentary I watched. I don't know if it's not like, I don't know if she doesn't like this movie or not, but I don't think so. Like, I think she does love this movie. But I just don't, I don't know. Maybe she just doesn't
Yeah,
talk about it.
my understanding was is she had to delay going to Harvard to film the movie, but then she didn't want to delay going to school for the second one. So that's why she wasn't. They took her character out of the second one.
Well, it didn't make any sense if they were going to have it in Okinawa. Would she have gone with them? And in that case, there would be no like the love situation.
Yeah,
It would just be hanging out. Like, I mean, I like millions ideas just come to my mind of like how would they handle Allie and Okinawa? Would she have just been with with Ralph, Daniel the whole
hmm
time, and so would any girl who's comes by, like would she be all like jealous of, or would any guy that comes by would he be all jealous that you're gonna, what I mean? There would be like
yeah, we're gonna hold it
no,
from.
there would be no issue, Like I
Yeah.
like the fact that back then I didn't because I liked Allie. I've always wanted Allie to
hmm
return. I even thought like she could have come back for the third movie, but I think by the second movie they realized we can just have them have revolving girlfriends, each time getting a new girl for him. And third one had one of my favorite actresses, Robin Lively, as his girlfriend, and I loved her from like Teen Witch, but she was also in like a ton of other. I think she was in a couple like
hmm
Trancers movies and stuff, and things like that I grew up watching. So, if anything, like I think Robin and was it Elizabeth Shue, and I don't remember the
All right,
Okinawan
from
girl's name.
it's Tomlin Tomita.
Okay,
Tomlin Tomita. She's been in oh, was it? Is it Joy Luck Club or a couple of films that stuff from the '90s as well. I believe she's still working actress. So,
good.
um, but yeah. So, but yeah. I know that this is more about one than the other ones, but yeah, two still hold a special place. I know we're a little different on the pages there, but it's a totally different film and a totally different angle, and it's obviously the initial setup of the first ones. I mean, it's watching the first one and looking for like little pieces though. They tied nice pieces into two from the first one, but the
Well,
first one hold a special place.
the first one kind of set the tone for all the sequels, or whatever, where they wanted to go with it. But it also kind of established a lot of the training stuff and Miyagi and Daniel San's, you know, uh, I guess life together, like
Yeah,
the way they hang out, the way they get to form their relationship. Because like the third one, it took a little where like somebody comes in to, because it's more, even though he has girlfriends, it's more of a love like thing uh between student and teacher, and
yeah.
everything. There's what else I was trying to say is like um I you can't talk about the first movie without talking about the second and third one. But they made a Nintendo video game. I don't know if you ever remember playing that or not.
I probably played it because I played just about everything on Nintendo back in the day, but I haven't seen video of it anytime recently.
So basically, it was part two. It was, I guess it was made around the same time that part two came out. So it wasn't Karate Kid 1. It didn't have like the, I think might have had the All Valley at the end or something. But really, it was like him going through the streets of Okinawa and just kicking people, the whole time. And so he kicked people. And then when you would pass the level, you had to do like a challenge or whatever. And one of the challenges was breaking bottles,
Breaking the ice,
um,
breaking the ice through the
breaking the
ice.
ice, and then the other one was you had to like dodge the crane thing that comes down
Oh
in
yeah,
number
yeah.
two.
hmm
So it was so funny because it was all two basically. Like
Yeah.
the bottle breaking
What?
was even in two where it
Yeah,
showed.
I'm wondering if they did they have Sato and Chozan in it, the old
I
guy,
don't
the one.
remember.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'm sure they have YouTube clips on that game and stuff like that because they do that on just about everything. So it'd be interesting to see that.
Honestly, I did not bring my Nintendo to LA. but I am going back to visit Virginia. Hopefully, if all this chaos doesn't stop and I can, whatever, I can go. That'll be great. But yeah, so hopefully we can, I can fly out. But if I do get there, I think my Nintendo might be at the studio if I'm right. And if it's at the studio, I'm totally packing it up and bringing it with me back to LA because that was one thing I missed is being able to play Nintendo. The only reason I didn't bring it was because my roommate now had said that she had one before, but that was her ex's, so that's not happening anymore.
So
So I'm like, I
Nintendo's
need.
Nintendo's the game system that you came up with, basically, right?
Yeah, that's the
Is
one I
that
grew up with. Yeah, I
see
was like
see? I mean, I
5.
grew up. I played that and then Sega and stuff like that. But before that, I was an Atari kid. So
Yeah, you grew up on Atari. I grew up on, Nintendo. But really, Sega was my baby.
oh,
You
I
know.
love that the Sega Genesis. That was
Yep.
yes, yeah, that was
Yep. That
some of the
became
games
my
in there. But
baby. I used to play that. I used to play Game Gear. It was like the
mhm,
Game Boy, Sega's Game Boy.
yeah,
But anyway, that's off topic. Of course.
yeah, yeah.
Karate Kid, I would say if you're a fan of Karate Kid, buy the 4K version. It comes with the Blu-ray. So if you just like me, if you lose the fucking 4K, you can at least watch the Blu-ray of it. Hopefully I can find it, but itself. You know what I mean? So I don't have to buy a whole brand new. But if they're selling it at the same price, I'll just buy a whole brand new, thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. Just like I said, this is the last episode of not just the season, but like of YouTube. I think if I'm correct, What the Fuck Friday, Film Freaks, and Criterion Watch. If it does return in 2022, if it does return, it will be on Sick Flick TV because we are trying to put everything onto there and kind of move into the direction of having our own streaming channel. So everything will be there. You can watch it on whatever, and so we will talk more about that when those come out or whatever, and maybe we'll give you some updates on YouTube about what's going to happen with it. But for now, just expect it to be out in January of 2022, the new season. But for now, January 2021 and further, we're going to be concentrating mainly on the podcasts and video casts that we have already set up and everything. So Indie Film Cafe, and maybe we'll bring some more stuff. A lot of that will be, once again, going to Sick Flick TV. So January 1st, 2021, expect Sick Flick TV to launch with a bunch of Film Freaks stuff, the episodes of Film Freaks, episodes of Criteria Watch, all that stuff. And I'm really excited for that. A chance for all of us to kind of showcase our older, works of what we've been doing recently.
And it'd be all cataloged in one place, and it'd be real easy to differentiate and see the different things and stuff like that, so people could pick and choose the titles and the different topics that they want to choose in a clean one-stop shop.
Exactly. It'll be like the Indie Film Cafe's playlist that we have set up already, where you can watch all the different
Mm-hmm.
ones. We do have Film Freaks and Criteria Watch and What the Fuck Friday playlists. So if I were you, I'd check that out. So thank you guys. Paul, Paul and I will be still doing Indie Film Cafe and a bunch of the other stuff. He's got his own stuff like Sexploitation, Sleazecast. Joe will be joining us for Hollywood Boulevard podcast coming in January. So we're really excited. There's a lot of stuff happening still with the Indie Film Cafe. We are not taking breaks on, the whole thing. We're just taking a break on Film Freaks and other stuff because we are busy, so we don't want to kill ourselves, we can only do so much. But we thank you, Joe, for being a big part of this, being a big part of Criterion Watch. I think you're doing a Criterion Watch with Paul coming up, so you'll be on that one. That'll be next Friday release. So I don't want to talk too much about that. But then what is it? We've got yeah, we've already done our last What the Fuck Friday with all three of us that we did. So that was fun. And so we've been busy, you know, and I like that you've ended it with all of us, like working, you know, having it kind of worked perfectly. Like we did What the Fuck Friday, all three of us. Then you're doing this with me, and then you're doing Paul's, you know, Criteria Watch. So you're kind of joined it for the last episodes of each one, you know.
Yeah, and then Indie Film Cafe will be getting together too. So
Yeah, Indie Film
yeah,
Cafe, I
yeah,
think one of the last stuff. So I mean, there's so much going on right now. We're just trying, yeah, and you'll be at our last like recap thing of
yep.
the season. So that'll be a lot of fun. And we're just trying so hard to keep everybody like we're just trying to show how busy we are and everything and give you guys content. And because of that, because of all the content we've been doing, we've been getting a lot more subscribers. So thank you all for checking this out. If you reached all the way to the end, please subscribe. Check, you know, tell us what you guys think, and leave us notes, give us thumbs up, and also hit that little bell that lets you notify when another episode has aired. You know, that'll be awesome for us. We appreciate that. Joe, have you been doing anything else? Have you been up to anything?
Just working with you guys on these podcasts right now, but I'm hoping to have something going very soon.
All
But
right, cool.
yeah,
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear more.
okay,
And yeah, I've been really busy. I just did background on a Lifetime movie, so another one. This is my second background on a Lifetime movie. Don't think I'm putting them on my IMDb because as much as it's nice to, you know, whatever, but I didn't have any lines, and I don't want to be.
you don't want to be second party guest on your IMDb credits.
Not all of my, not all, you know, like I don't want a lot of those credits because after a while, you know, you just look like that's all you do. And that's not, that's not what I want to do. I do enjoy doing them because they're fun. But if I have a line or two or something, then I'll, you know, or a character name, I'll put it up there like I did with Collision Earth. That was pretty cool, you know.
And being on a set's good stuff, though. I'm sure you're
Oh,
you're
yeah.
getting good stuff out of that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of fun. But if they give me a character name or something, I'll definitely put it up there. But that's not, you know, that's not what I think of, you know. So anyway,
Mhm.
thank you guys. Joe, if you could stick around, I'll chat with you for a few minutes. And then
Okay.
thank you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this Film Freaks and let us know what you guys think. And join us, I think, in 2022, where hopefully we'll be launching the third season of all these shows. So we'll see. We'll see how things go.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.